Welcome to the Beware the Moon podcast. My name is Hannah.
And I'm Charlie.
Charlie Brown, formerly known as Charlie Brown 642. Formerly known as Charlie Warley 666. Just kidding.
Yeah, you can follow me on my gaming channel, but
yes.
We're not here for gaming.
No.
We're here for horror.
We're here for the spookies, the scaries, and the stabbies.
The stabbies.
We are here today to talk about Scream 6.
First things first, the spoiler-free review.
Oh yes, spoiler-free. So if you are new to the horror genre, highly recommend all of the Scream movies.
Any of them.
Any of them. I mean, start with 1 or 5.
Preferably.
Just to give yourself like a reference point. I wouldn't like go straight to Scream 3, but the less you know about a Scream movie going into it, the better it is. So, spoiler-free section definitely comes first for all of my reviews, but especially Scream. And I have to say, I'm a big Scream fan, just to lay the foundation for this review.
I've seen a couple of the Scream movies myself.
Charles has seen a few. I'm a big Scream fan. When I first started getting into horror, I got into horror when I was about 20 years old, and I didn't really know anything about the Screams, except that they were like a horror franchise, foundational franchise. They were like a big deal, you know, like Halloween every year, you see Michael Myers masks, Jason Voorhees masks, you see Freddy Krueger masks, and you see Ghostface masks. So I was like, this one, I gotta watch it. And it was on Netflix, and I had access to a Netflix at the time. So I went ahead and watched 1 through 3, and they were absolutely incredible. Particularly that first one. It hits different, man. It's very tense, and I think this Scream also accomplishes the tense atmosphere.
Yeah, the best way to go into it is just go completely blind. Hannah saw a couple of trailers. I didn't even see a single trailer, and I had a freaking blast with this movie.
Yeah, it is so good. It's a really good horror movie. It's a solid horror movie. Like, take away all the other Screams, take away the big pedestal it gets to stand on because it's a Scream movie. And it's a fucking awesome movie. Like, it's just really good. Like, it's just really good. Like, there's some really tense moments. There's some, like, ooh, gosh. And, of course, so many plot twists and turns.
Plot twists galore. Could not figure out who the killer was.
Yeah, it wasn't, like, because we're doing spoiler-free.
Yeah.
The dogs were being loud, had to cut something. This movie is really good. So, of course, it's a Scream movie, and I think everybody is, like, sick to death of horror movies or just movies in general being meta. But Scream is the original meta-narrative horror movie franchise, so you kind of have to let it do its thing. But I think one of the things they mention is they have a spiel about this is a franchise now, so, like, this is going to try and subvert your expectations. And that's talking a big talk. Like, if you say that, you have to live up to that. And that's a tough thing to live up to. But Scream 6 accomplishes that. Like,
100%.
There were so many times where I thought this, and then it was that. And then there were so many times when I expected this, and it was that, even as a seasoned Scream fan. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. Like I said, just good horror, good gore. The stabbing is so intense in these movies. Like, they're not just like one stab. It's like stab it, stab it, stab it, stab it, stab it, stab it, stab it. It's like, oh my gosh.
It's very violent.
You're like, that man is a fucking pincushion. Like, oh my word. Swiss cheese looks better than that guy. You're like, holy shit. So that's a cool thing too. I mean, it gets gory and it gets gross and it's fucking great.
Yeah, and it knows how to keep you on your toes.
So I highly recommend it, just because I highly recommend it. Yeah, to Scream fans, I recommend, and then also to general horror audiences, highly recommend.
In other words, me.
Yeah. Charles, would you say you would recommend this movie to someone who's looking for a good time in horror?
Yes, okay. I had a fantastic time. And that's because I went in completely blind.
Yes. Know as little as possible about every Scream movie you can. on your first watch. That is, I think, one of the key components to just, I mean, a wild fucking ride.
It is.
So, yeah. And then, of course, for seasoned Scream fans, you get a couple of familiar faces that are really fun.
All around me are familiar faces.
So yeah, that is the spoiler-free section of the review. Like I said, we try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. I didn't even mention previous Ghostface names. Didn't even mention character names. So go see it. If you have not seen it, go see it right now. Stop what you're doing.
Go see it.
Do not listen to the rest of this until you go see it. And then come back and listen to this, okay? Did you do that?
I hope you did.
Are you back from the movie?
You better have.
Okay, cool. So we're going to the spoiler section.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Big spoiler section.
Which is, this movie is so good.
The cold open.
The cold open. So Samara Weaving, I was high up there with like my hopes for Samara Weaving being in the Scream 5 movie, because I thought she would be fucking perfect to add to the Scream universe. So when they hired her for Scream 6, I was ecstatic out of my mind. I was like, yes, Samara Weaving, let's go! New Scream Queen, yes! And then she's the cold open, and I was like, damn it! But she was a really good cold open.
Yeah, and you know, that's how the first Scream worked too, is they hire a big name actor or actress in the cold open, and then they show you the rest of the movie.
And then they gut them. Whoops. Which, with the first Scream, I've heard that it was actually Drew Barrymore's idea to make her the cold open heroine. Or, well, not heroine, because she fucking dies. But to make her, like, the kill in the cold open, because she was originally... This is what I've heard. I was not there. I cannot confirm, okay? I'm not Wes Craven's assistant. I'm not Wes Craven. He is quite dead, rest in peace. But this is what I've heard, is that she was originally cast to play the main role of Sidney Prescott, and said, Neve Campbell would make a better Sidney. It would be really good for you to use me for the posters, so that everyone thinks I'm going to be a big part in this movie, and then I'm not. I get dead in the first 10 minutes. And Wes said, that's a brilliant idea, because he was a smart man. And went with that. And this was kind of like, I mean, at this point, like I said, you expect it. So this movie did a really good job of subverting expectations. And they don't even tell you they're going to do that until like maybe a half of the way through the movie or a quarter of the way through the movie. So... But already, they start subverting your expectations. So Samara Weaving goes into this dark alley, and Ghostface kills her, and then Ghostface
is played by freaking Flash.
So Ghostface in this alley takes off his mask, and it's fucking Flash from the Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland. Like, that Flash.
Yeah, him. It's 100% him.
And it is, first of all, just really funny and ironic. So that in and of itself is just, like, mind-boggling. But the fact that they take off the Ghostface mask, and then like, you follow him.
It's like, why show his face at all? Because that's the whole point of the movie, is that you don't know who Ghostface is until the end of the movie.
Which is, I said to myself, oh, they're gonna fucking kill the first Ghostface right now. And I was super excited for it. Like, that, like, I mean, you're expecting it at this point if you're a seasoned Scream fan. But at the same time, I was excited for it because I was like, oh my gosh, are we going to really kill the first Ghostface? Like, I was like, is Ghostface going to get Ghostfaced?
Ghostfaced.
Ghostfaced?
Ghostfaced. I mean, it's not the first time a Ghostface has been Ghostfaced before, right?
No. This is the first, well, I mean,
yeah.
Technically you have Jill killing Charlie, and you have, like, Mrs. Loomis. I think she's the one who shoots Mickey.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't get, like, a Ghostface getting Ghostfaced right from the get.
Yeah.
And you don't get it, like, as your part of your cold open.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. Also, I apologize for the sounds of dogs in the background. They are just doing whatever the fuck they want right now. We just got home from the movie, so they're, like, super excited to see me, which means they're wrestling with each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so, like, the Ghostface getting Ghostfaced right from the get
was super surprising.
Ghostfaced. I accidentally said that on the way home, and I meant to say ghost-faced. But honestly, I think Ghostfaced sounds better.
Ghostfaced.
I don't know why.
All the T's, all the D's, all the EDs.
Yeah, you gotta double down on the tid sound.
The Ghostfaced.
Ghostfaced. Yeah, just add as many EDs as you possibly can. That's the correct pronunciation. This is America. We've added the EDs, y'all. Anyway.
Words,
yeah. So he, like, picks up the phone, and he's getting a Ghostface call, and he's assuming it's from his roommate, Greg, because he and his roommate, Greg, are gonna Ghostface this movie, is their plan.
That's their plan. Yeah,
their plan is they're gonna finish Richie's movie, and Richie is one of the Ghostfaced... Am I saying that correct? I feel like I can't say this word anymore.
Ghostface.
But he was one of the Ghostface, and so Richie is, like I said, he's one of the Ghostface from the last movie. He was planning on making a Ghostface movie.
I think so.
It's been literally a year since I've seen that movie, so I can't really remember if that was the plot or not. I know he was one of the killers, and I remember he wanted... I don't even remember what his motivation was, but it was good enough, honestly.
Apparently.
Yeah, it was good enough for me. He's not, like, down the list of stupid Ghostface, motives. Like, I think probably the worst two Ghostface motives are Charlie and Mickey. To be honest, Stu's motive is kind of unclear. I mean, he's just kind of doing it because his buddy wants to do it, so that's not a great motive.
He's just like, hey, this is a fantastic time. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, Billy's like, how about you help me rape and kill this lady, and then we'll kill a bunch of other people, and Stu's like, bet? Let's go, Billy. So, like, that's weird. I don't really get that. But at the same time, it feels very genuine coming from Stu's character, so everyone's okay with it. Yeah. I'm okay with it. It's fine. We love Stu Macher. I want Stu Macher back, honestly. I miss Matthew Lillard in these movies. I'm glad we get to see Skeet Ulrich. And I'm glad Billy Loomis is there haunting shit. But I do miss Stu Macher. I miss Stu. I'm really, like, they mentioned in this movie that they're like, oh, the TV killed him. And someone was like, if you believe that. And I'm like, I'm hoping that's laying the foundation for a Stu return in the next movie, because I fucking want it so bad.
That would be such a huge plot twist, but then also at the same time, have you carried one of those TVs before?
Yeah. Like, it's...
Those things are heavy.
We'll get to that. Anyway, back to what we were saying. So, Flash is walking around his apartment and talking to Ghostface, who he thinks is his partner in crime, roommate, Greg. And Greg's fucking with him, asking him questions about killing and what it felt like and blah blah blah. And
at one point he asks, how long have we known each other? And at that point Flash kind of has a clue as to what's going on. He says, you tell me.
But then he does, so then Flash is, the red flag goes down again, and he's still talking to Greg, he thinks. And the Ghostface on the phone is like, let's play warmer or colder so you can find me. And he goes to open the fridge, and I'm like, is there going to be a Ghostface in the fridge? Because I literally thought, like, at this point, like, oh, well, maybe Greg is going to kill Flash and take all the something.
It would have been funny if that was the case, because can you imagine Ghostface just contorting himself into the tiny fridge with all those shelves in there?
No, which is why I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I was like, what? Like, I didn't expect him to be dead. Like, I figured he was gonna kill Flash.
And he's just gonna be like, bruh!
Yeah, but I was like, that's a weird place to hide the fridge, but whatever. Ghostface can do what he wants, I guess. He opens the fridge, and Greg is, like, cut into portions and stuffed in the fridge. Like,
his head's on the shelf.
Yeah.
His torso's, like, to the right and all that crap.
They had to, like, someone Tetrised his body in there after they cut it to pieces, and so, of course, Flash is like, what the fuck? And then Ghostface comes from behind him and stabs him to death, and is like, because he had said something about, oh, as I stabbed her, she became less human, and then she was just meat, and so, as they're stabbing Flash, Ghostface is, and he's like, do you feel like meat, Flash? And you're like, oh, fuck yeah. So that told me right there, this Ghostface, like, motive is not the pleasure of killing. Like, I didn't know what the motive would be, but I was like, clearly it's not, we're killing people for funsies. Like Stu was.
Yeah.
Or like, I guess Mickey kind of. I mean, his was for the movies, but it's kind of like he was killing people for funsies. And same with Charlie, because Charlie's motive is the murkiest.
Yeah.
I literally watched that movie like 2 nights ago for the first time, or last night or some shit. It's still the murkiest motive I've ever seen. Like, I'm like, what? I don't understand what his motive was. But
yeah,
this one was like, okay, so we're not doing this for funsies.
No, we ain't doing this for funsies. Who gives a fuck about movies?
He says that, and that's the best. Like, he's like, says something about finishing the movie, and Ghostface literally goes, who gives a fuck about movies? And you're like, oh. Which kind of, like, is a shot at Mickey, because, like, this is a requel, so it's a reboot sequel, and this is the second in that reboot sequel. So we're already at a college. It's already established at this point that we're at a college. We're in New York, so I don't think the college is in Woodsboro.
No.
So that's out.
No, I think it's been established that... Isn't it in, like, Manhattan or something?
No, sorry, I meant for the second Scream. So Scream 2, I don't think Scream 2 was in Woodsboro. This definitely takes place in New York City. But I don't think Scream 2 was in Woodsboro. And so, like, we're already seeing some mirroring. So my mind is immediately going to Scream 2 and comparisons, of course, to kind of know what to expect.
Like sussy love interests.
Yeah, so, which...
and all that jazz.
That was probably, like... It's funny, because you look at that, and then, of course, Mindy Meeks later says that this is not even, like, a requel or anything like that anymore. It's a franchise, and it's the second in the franchise requel, so, like, you have to subvert all the expectations. So... me, as a seasoned Scream fan, I'm thinking about the second movie, which it's been a good decade since I've seen that, but I'm making comparisons in my mind already. And,
the movie knows you're making comparisons,
yeah,
too.
the movie takes full advantage of that, which is great.
100%. This movie is, like, manipulating you as you're watching it.
Which is great. Like, I'm not against it. So then we cut to Samantha, our main character of these requels, who is Billy Loomis's love child, which... good for Billy. That's how I felt when I saw the last one. I was like, good for Billy.
Like,
he got out there and made some actual love before he started murdering, which, you know.
Yeah, and intentionally made a badass final girl?
Yes. Like, that's the coolest thing, too, is, like, that subverts everything. Is, like, this girl, you would expect her to be the next killer. Like, you expect her to have the motive to be the next Ghostface. But actually, she's, like, the next Sydney, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah, which also addresses the concept of the legacy characters, like Gale Weathers. Like it says that, you know, legacy characters, they're expendable, they can die too. And apparently, if you've watched Scream 5, Dewey dies in that one.
Yeah, that really hit home.
Yeah, so it's like, as soon as they mention that, it's like, oh crap, are we gonna see a legacy character die in this one?
And Gale's the only legacy... well, I guess Kirby's in it too, but Gale is the main legacy character, so you're like, fuck, are they gonna kill Gale again? Like, I was gonna be so mad, honest to God, if they killed Dewey in the last movie, kill Gale this movie, and then Sydney's the only one of the original trio left. Like, that would have made me so mad.
Seriously.
As, like, a seasoned Scream fan. But anyway, so Samantha is talking to her therapist, and he mentions, like, we've been at this 6 months, and you keep alluding to this event that happened to you, but you won't fucking tell me what it is, and you don't give me any details. So she tells him. She's like, I have trust issues, and he's like, well, I can't help you if you don't tell me. So she tells him everything that happened in the 5th movie, basically, in a really condensed version.
And then he's like, I can't do this.
Well, she says, like, he says something about, oh, and you're worried he's going to come back after you? And she's like, no, I killed him. I stabbed him 22 times, slit his throat, and then shot him in the head. So he's definitely dead. And she's like, I'm here talking to you because it felt right. So we know, and especially with Billy's ghost in the last movie, that, like, she has the potential to become a serial killer. Like, she enjoys the stabby stabs.
She likes the stabs.
She like a the stab.
She like a the stabber.
Yeah, so we already get that she's kind of stabby. She's got the stabby blood in her. But the doctor, the therapist, psychologist, doctor guy, he's like, I have to legally report you. And she's like, I didn't even say I was going to kill anyone. And he was like, well, you alluded to it, which... full of fucking shit she did.
No,
I'm so mad. Like, she's genuinely trying to get help. She's genuinely concerned. And this guy's like, I have to report you to the police. Like, fuck you, guy.
Like, bro, really? Is it not your job to help people?
Well, and so all therapists, for those of you who don't know, are mandated reporters. Meaning that if there is intent to harm self or others, they legally have to report you to the police, right? So if you go to your therapist and they're a licensed therapist and they say, you say to them, I think I'm about killing myself, they're going to call the police on you. Or if you go to them and you say, I'm thinking about killing someone, they have to call the police on you. But she doesn't even say, I'm thinking about killing someone. She says, I killed this guy. It was literally self-defense. He was trying to kill the fuck out of her. So she killed him instead. And she said it felt right. Not even, I enjoy killing people. She didn't say, I'm going to go kill someone. She didn't name any names. She didn't say, she's like, I'm worried because when I did this once, it felt good.
And I don't want to feel it again.
And she clearly does not want to feel this again. So he's basically like, I can't do this. I'm not qualified for this. I'm going to call the police on you. Which, that is the shittiest response. Like, if you don't feel qualified, I get that. But, like, he doesn't give her a reference to anyone. Like, he just is like, I can't do this.
Police.
Yeah, which, like, fuck you, guy.
Yeah.
That made me so mad. Like, Samantha gets pissed, too. She's like, you're like all the rest of them. And she leaves, and I'm like, good for you, Samantha. Don't fucking take that shit.
Don't take that.
It made me so mad.
And meanwhile, while this is happening, Tara is at a party with her friends, and they are, like, stuff's happening, they're drinking, and then some dude asks, hey, I've got some beer up in my room. You want to come with me?
No, Charles, it's Fireball. Charles doesn't know alcohol, so that's whiskey, everybody.
Okay, Fireball. Okay, sorry. I don't drink, and I don't want to ever drink.
The one time Charles accidentally ordered a drink at the movie theater was the funniest moment ever. We were watching Zombieland 2. This is a quick aside. We were watching Zombieland 2, and Charles ordered a melon head. The movie had already started, so it was kind of loud. It's hard to hear.
I ordered a mellow yellow, but he thought I said melon head.
So he ordered a mellow yellow. This guy thought he said melon head, which he asked Charles for his ID, and I was like, that's weird. Like, internally, I was like, why is he asking Charles for his ID? But, like, I didn't question it, because I'm like, I know Charles doesn't drink, and he never will, you know? And the guy comes back with his drink and his food, and he comes back, and the drink has an umbrella in it, and Charles is looking at it like, why the fuck did he put an umbrella in this? And I lean over, and I go, Charles, that's an alcohol. And Charles looks offended, like someone has brought him a rat, and Charles picks the alcohol up as if it is a rat, and just like 2 fingers, like walks so fast out of that movie theater, and he looks offended, like this thing is going to hurt him, like it's a Diamondback rattlesnake or some shit. And I am laughing so hard I literally fall out of my seat in the middle of Zombieland 2, and our cousins are sitting right next to us, and they're like, what is going on? Because all they see is Charles get up and leave really fast. And I'm laughing so hard I'm on the floor, and they're like trying to watch the movie, and they're like, what is happening?
This is a dine-in theater, by the way, for those of you wondering.
Obviously, yes. But that was the funniest. Also, the weird sounds that are like, those are my dogs. I'm so sorry. I can't get them to stop.
Yeah, they are just unruly tonight. Shut up.
Thanks, Charles. I got that. Anyway, so yeah, she's like, this douche Frankie is like trying to date rape Tara, which Jenna Ortega is so small. The actress is so small. Like, even, like, this whole movie, I was like, she's so tiny. Like, like, my brain just went into, like, I get why Sam is doing this. Because, like, if you've got protective instincts, they go crazy for your family, but especially if it's a smaller family member, I don't know why.
Like, definitely, like, she's the little sister.
She's so tiny! And, like, my brain is like, yes, protect small person. Not that she's, like, she's just smaller than everyone else around her. Hang on, now I have to Google how tall she is. Guys, I just Googled it. She's 5'1".
What?
She's like 4 inches smaller than me.
Oh my goodness.
She's like, Charles, she would be so fucking small next to you.
Oh my god.
Charles is like 6 foot a billion. So like he'd be she'd be so tiny next to you.
Oh my goodness.
She would look like a little blip. Would she even come up to your chest? I don't even think so.
I don't know. I'm 6'3", so I'm 1.2 inches taller than her.
Oh God. Yeah, I don't even think she would come up to your like the middle of your chest.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so Jenna Ortega, now that we've established her height, I feel validated.
Goodness.
She's smaller than all of her friend group, smaller than her sister. And so she's like about to go up the stairs with this frat guy who's got those date rape vibes, and she's much tinier than this guy. And so you're like, that's not going to end well. She's super drunk, you can tell.
Yeah.
And her friend, Mindy, gets up and is like, hey, and no, it's Annika, which is Mindy's girlfriend. She gets up and is like, hey, Tara, you good? And Tara's like, yeah, I want to go upstairs with him. So then Annika goes and gets Chad.
Literally a Chad.
Chad the Chad. He's
Chad
the best.
Giga Chad.
I freaking love Chad Meeks. Randy would be so proud of his nephew. I just want to say. So Chad is literally attending this party as a shirtless cowboy. And I'm all for it, man. He looks great. He just looks great. He's talking to his roommate, Ethan, who is dressed as a cardboard knight, which is so funny. And that's when Annika interrupts them and is like, hey, Chad, we need you. Chad goes over and is like, hey, man, get your hands off Tara, sort of a thing. They get into a scuffle, I would call it.
Yeah.
It's not like a fight, but it's a scuffle.
Yeah, it's a skirmish.
And then the best line of the movie, Samantha interrupts them and she says something like, excuse me, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to tase you in the balls now. And fucking tases this frat guy in the nuts. It's so good. And he's on the ground and he's like, oh, you bitch.
What a way to sober him up.
It's so good. I'm like, I wish. It is the funniest. It's just so good. Excuse me. I'm going to tase you in the balls, though.
I'm going to tase you in the balls now.
And she literally is like, she's like, excuse me, I'm so sorry to interrupt. And she fucking tased the guy. He's on the ground. And then they leave, of course.
You know what kind of vibes that gives me? Like in The Amazing Spider-Man, like he grabs Gwen and he's like, I'm going to toss you out the window now. What?
Dude,
and then he tosses her out the window.
My favorite thing in movies is when people say crazy batshit things in a
very calm manner.
And like very politely and then they fucking do it. I love that. I don't know why. I'm just a sucker for that.
Excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to tase you in the balls. What?
And he's like, what? And then just down. So then, of course, Sam and Tara get into a fight because Tara's like, you're up my ass, essentially. And Sam's like, I'm literally trying to keep you alive. And Tara's like, there's no Ghostface right now, which in their POV, this is the same night Samara Weaving died. Same night Greg, one of the Ghostfaces that got Ghostfaced, died. And the other Ghostface, Flash, that got Ghostfaced. They're all dead. No one knows yet. So in their minds, yes, there's no Ghostface right now. So she's like, what the fuck are you worried so much about for? You know, like, I'm trying to live my life. I'm going to college, trying to get this degree. Leave me alone. You have to let me go. And Sam is like, and at this point, we also met their roommate, which is a girl named Quinn, who's clearly a slut, which is kind of funny because the way she goes about revealing that she's a slut is there's some guy in her room. Sam goes, is that Paul? And the guy in the room goes,
who's Paul?
He goes, who the fuck is Paul? Like, really, like, in the background, which is so good. Everyone in the theater got a chuckle out of that. Who the fuck is Paul? But anyway, Quinn had told Sam where Tara went, blah, blah, blah. So they get into their argument. They go home. And, of course, like, Chad and Mindy and Annika also go to, like, hey, Tara, hey, Sam, like, calm down, trying to calm everything down.
And while they're having this powwow, a bunch of people come up, and one of them, like, throws, like, soda or something at Sam. And, because at this point, people for some reason think that Sam is the one that killed the last movie's Ghostface, like, as... like, not as in, like, a self-defense thing, but as, like, a murder.
Yeah, so they think that Sam set up Richie and Amber and framed them and killed everybody else. Which is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's not like they're, like, presenting evidence, doing investigative journalism. Like, they're just like, hey, what if Billy Loomis's daughter actually set this whole thing up to make herself look like the hero? And people were like, hey, yeah. Because...
Hey, fuck that bitch.
Yeah, because there's no evidence for that, but fuck that guy anyway. You're like, what? But people are like that. People are so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, they mentioned towards the end of the movie, like, if you want to assassinate someone, you first assassinate their character, which is true. You just make some shit up, and then it blows up, and then...
But the thing is, like, they also say that the best lies have some base of truth in them.
And that's true, too.
Yeah, because the thing is,
I think Hitler said that.
Yeah, because the thing is, she did kill the last movie's Ghostface, but the thing is, it wasn't self-defense. But people don't really care that it was in self-defense because they hear, oh, well, she killed this person. Clearly this person's dead, so obviously this person is probably the killer who set up these two people to be the killer and then killed everyone else.
Which is fucking stupid.
It is.
Like, there's no evidence for it. Like, you don't ever see, like, you literally never see any evidence that anyone is putting out for this theory.
Yeah.
And it's not like, it's just stupid. Like, it sucks, because, like, here she is, she's the victim. Yeah, her dad's a serial killer. She didn't choose that. Like,
she's just trying to live her life.
She's literally... Tears for Samantha. Fuck, I almost called her Sarah. Tears for...
Samara
Weaving! Tears for Samara Weaving. I'm devolving. Tears for Samara Weaving.
Samantha and Tara.
I'm gonna start my own nonprofit. Tears for Samara Weaving. I know I'm saying it wrong when I say it like that, but that's also part of the point. And I'm gonna base it in Wichita, which is what I call Wichita, Kansas. Wichita. And Samara Weaving is gonna go, what the fuck is this? And then when she tries to sue me for being like, what the fuck are you using my name for? I'm gonna be like, no, it's pronounced Samara. That's how I'm gonna get out of it. Anyway, back to things that actually are prevalent to the story. So, like, this has become a really popular theory, which is weird because, like, I know there are active serial killers out there, and, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's plausible that a giant serial killer would, like, serial killer... It's okay. That, like, a serial killer would get that much publicity that, like, people would come up with their own theories and such. But that really doesn't happen so much anymore. Like, Ted Bundy is the last one that I can remember that was an active serial killer that got so much publicity.
A lot of media attention.
Yeah. Like, and the last one that I really, like, the last two that I remember that got a ton of media attention, and we lived in Florida at the time, which is where the crimes occurred, was Casey Anthony and George Zimmerman. And I know a ton of George Zimmerman's facts were misconstrued in the media. So don't trust the media. Like, you just can't trust them. Especially, like, it doesn't seem like anyone's even putting facts out there for this theory that Samantha was the killer. They're just posting about it.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, hey, look at this. This is a conspiracy theory. Hey, that has a lot of likes, so that must be true. It's so stupid. Like, it makes me so mad. Because they're like, well, she's Billy Loomis's daughter, and that's kind of the only leg that theory has to stand on, which isn't even a leg. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Anyway, so these girls are like, fuck you, we know what you did. They poured Diet Cherry Coke on her, which we find out later because of a funny thing, I'll explain it. But they pour this Coke on her, and, she's like, do you have a problem with me? And she, like, squares up with them. And Chad's like, no, man, no, because he's, like, the best ever. He's like, no, man, don't worry about
Chad.
It. He is.
Chad has evolved to Giga Chad.
He did. He literally went from the last movie just being Chad to Scream 6, he's Giga Chad.
He said, my name is Giga, my middle name is Chad, my last name is Meeks.
Which has nothing to do with how much of a Chad he is. Actually, you think about it, Randy Meeks was kind of a Chad too. Anyway, besides the point. So,
Can you calm down?
Charles is talking to the dogs. So, then we go to the apartment, and Quinn's like, I'm sorry, I told your sister where you were to Tara, and then Chad comes in, and Quinn, like, quietly excuses herself, and Chad and Tara, like, all of a sudden have a thing, which I'm for. I'm for it. I'm like, that's cute. I dig it. He's super tall and buff, and she's 5'1", so.
And he was there to make sure that she didn't get, like, date raped at a party.
Okay, this whole movie, he's Mr. Protectorly guy, and I'm into it. I love it. Him and Danny both. I love them. So, like, Sam has this love interest who, like, lives across in the other building, and they just kind of, everyone thinks they're just been checking each other out through the window, but she's secretly dating him, which is great. Good for Sam. But, they are the best horror movie boyfriends. Like, I love them. They're so good. 15 out of 10 for those guys.
Like, props to you two dudes.
Both of them. And they're played so well. I just love the actors who play them. Anyway, so Tara and Chad almost kissed, but then Quinn comes in, and it's so funny because she looks at Tara and goes, "Did I cock block you?" Which is so good, because, like, no one ever says that to, like, another female, I feel like. Or at least people of my generation don't. Gen Z apparently does, which, good for Gen Z. I think that's great. Like, I think it should go both ways. She's like, "Did I cock block you?" And she's like, "Nope." And Chad's like, "Stop saying cock." She's like, "I forgot my phone." And then she leaves, and then Tara's, like, laying on her bed smiling, and you're like, "Ah, that's cute. They have the feels for each other." Which, valid. They know they can trust each other.
Yeah.
Because of what they went through. So, anyway. Then.
Okay, so after that, we literally just saw this, so, like, we're trying to, like, grab the smaller details of the movie.
So then they see. So Sam goes to visit Danny, who's the guy who lives in the other building that everyone thinks she just has a crush on, but she's secretly dating him. That I'm like, good for her. He is the best. I fucking love him. He understands that she has trust issues, and he is like, he's just so good to her. So good to her through the whole movie.
And odds are he's probably seen, like, posts about her, and he's just like, nah, I don't believe that shit.
He is literally the most supportive boyfriend I've ever seen, ever. He's dream man, aside from the guy from Lamb. Charles is looking at me, like, very confused. That's what the silence for a second there was for. What's his name? Ingvar. Ingvar deserved better.
Alrighty. Hannah likes Ingvar.
I like Ingvar. I like Ingvar and Danny. Those are my horror movie husband choices.
Welcome to the part of the podcast where Charles is confused and Hannah talks about her husbands.
Where Charles's brain just goes, question mark, question mark, question mark. And my estrogen goes, I would carry their babies. Charles is like, what? When did we get onto that topic?
But anyway,
so she talks to Danny, and then she goes back to her apartment with Tara and Quinn, and surprise, surprise, killings are on the news, and guess who's dead?
It's Flash, and then it's
Gregory,
and
Samara
Weaving.
Please forgive me, Samara, if you ever hear this. I'm so sorry. I love you so much, and I think you should be in every good horror movie. Okay, love you, bye. Anyway.
You're not on the phone.
So Sam's like, fuck it, we leave. We're bouncing right now. And Danny had followed her up the stairs, too, which... Because, like, they were yelling, you gotta get up here fast, so he followed her up the stairs. He's there, and it's so funny, because Chad goes, okay, goodbye, strange, new, mysterious guy. We can't trust, goodbye. And he, like, shoos him out the door and locks it behind him.
Meanwhile, the sister and her best friend are like, oh, hey, cute guy.
They literally just call him cute guy, which I love.
We don't know who he is, but you know what?
No one does except Sam, but, like, the way Chad's just like, okay, new weird guy that we can't trust, go away.
Shoot.
He, like, shoos him out, locks it, and then, like, Sam's like, we're bouncing, and Tara's like, we can't just up and leave, like, we don't know that this has anything to do with us, and they're like, ghost face masks, blah, 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 and Sam's like, we're fucking getting out of here.
Yeah, and then Tara's like, okay, let's have our roommate whose dad is a police officer call about this, because maybe he knows something.
And he does. He finds Samantha's driver's license at the murder scene.
Yeah.
Bam, bam, bam!
Yeah, so obviously, we don't know who the killer is, but they had access to Samantha's driver's license.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna need you to come down to the station, which, that isn't how he sounds, but that's what he says. And so they're like, okay. So Sam's gonna go alone, and Tara's like, no, I'm going with you. And she's like, oh, fine.
Padiddle. But then again, it is a quote, so.
Yeah. So, as they're going down the street, they get a phone call from a telemarketer. Oh.
Wait. It would have been funnier if it was a telemarketer. Like, just the pause, and they're like, who is this? Would you like a release on your loan today?
Oh my god. Radio silence for Scream 7. Let me hear that your car warranty has expired. Bullshit. Subvert expectations even more. Make the best joke in horror movie history. She thinks it's Ghostface. She picks up, your car warranty has expired.
Would you like to talk to a spokesperson?
Oh, that'd be so good. Anyway, it's not a car warranty person. It's Ghostface. And she's basically like, why are you doing this? Like, everyone who's ever tries this has been stabbed to death. Like, do you not understand?
Kurt.
Yeah. So he's like, I'm gonna murder you bitches, but first I'm gonna make you pay. And Tara's like, pay for what? Stupid. I didn't fucking kill Richie just to kill him. Like, he was trying to murder me, and then, like, all of a sudden Ghostface pops out, and they run into this bodega, and they're like, someone call the police, and this idiot in the front of the line is like, hey, you're cutting in line.
Yeah, he's like, these two bitches are lying.
He just doesn't even.
That's what he said.
He's just mad because they're like talking to the clerk, telling him to call 911
because there's somebody after them.
They're like, there's someone trying to kill us, and the guy's like, they're full of shit. I just want to pay for my beer. And then Ghostface comes in and he's like, we got a problem, man.
And then Ghostface just freaking stabs him.
He stabs the fuck out of that guy, and I'm like, honestly, thank God.
And then like, I think Ghostface stabs like one more person.
Yeah,
too.
Someone tries to stop him, and like a good Samaritan guy, just citizen, tries to stop Ghostface. Ghostface stabs the fuck out of him.
And then the clerk pulls out his freaking shotgun.
Good for him.
Freaking amazing.
So he pulls out a shotgun, tries to shoot the Ghostface. Ghostface dodges him, and then he tells the girls, he's like, go out the back. He's like, go out the back. He's gonna cover them, basically. And I'm like, what a good man.
What a great guy.
I don't know him, but good for him. Sorry, that flapping sound was my dog shaking.
Seriously, dog?
Guys!
Hakuna your tatas.
I'm gonna leave that one in. I've been pausing it and cutting it out, but I'm gonna leave that one in. Hakuna your tatas. Don't have a rack attack, dogs. Okay, so Bodega Guy does not make it.
Unfortunately, he does not.
So sad.
It's unfortunate because he's got a gun.
Yeah, the girls are like, the back door's locked. He goes to give them the key, and then Ghostface is like, whoa, ho, ho, stabbity, stab, stab, and then gets the shotgun and blows the guy away, and you're like...
And now Ghostface has the shotgun.
And now Ghostface has the shotgun.
And then they have to play this, like, game of trying to get away from Ghostface in between the aisles.
Which... This is part of the trailer, but it is really tense still.
It's
and like
very tense.
My brain is like, just fucking knock the aisle over onto him, fuck him up. The whole time I'm like, he's on the ground, just start fucking curb stomping him. Like, what are you doing? Running away still? He's on the ground. Just beat his face in with your heel. But no one ever does that, which is why I would make a good final girl, because
100%. I told Hannah that if she was a final girl, she'd be Sidney Prescott.
And I told him that that was literally the best compliment I've ever received in my life, because it is. Neve Campbell, I just want you to know Sidney Prescott is my hero. Thank you very much for being her. I hope they pay you enough for you to be in the next one. I'm saying this as if you'll ever hear this, but if you do, just know, Neve Campbell, Sidney Prescott's my hero.
Pay her.
Pay her. If you're hearing me, Radio Silence and all the other fucking studios, Spyglass, Paramount, whatever...
Pay her.
Pay her.
Get her in the damn movie.
Put her back in the movie, and don't you fucking kill her, or I'll be so sad. Anyway, so they eventually do my idea where they knock an aisle over onto Ghostface. He escapes out the back door, and then the cops are like, yeah, you're definitely coming out of the station. And so they're sitting there, and the cop walks in, and it's Quinn's dad, Detective Bailey. And he is like,
They handed me this case, even though my daughter knows you guys.
And, which is, I'm pretty sure that's pretty illegal.
Yeah, fairly certain that's real sauce.
Yeah, like, I get that it's the New York Police Department, everybody's kind of sus of them, but that's even more sus. Sorry, I had to cut some stuff because of the dogs. Anyway, So that's pretty illegal, I'm fairly certain.
Yeah, because, like, Dad's got a personal connection to the case, so it's like, you know, might cloud your judgment.
But also, like, I get that there's a killer and he's after your daughter's roommate or whatever, but at the same time, your daughter is a suspect, buddy.
Yeah.
You know, especially this is a ghost face killing, which as this universe, it would be known as like a ghost face killing.
Everybody's a suspect.
Thank you. Randy, come back. Let us tell it how it is.
Everybody's a suspect!
He's right!
He is absolutely right.
So he's like, yeah, there was a ghost face mask dropped at this killing and it belonged to Richie. And then there was a ghost face mask that was dropped at this killing and it belonged to Charlie, which is one of the killers from Scream 4. And so you're like, oh, what the heck? And as he's questioning them, they're like, hey, the FBI is here and they're calling jurisdiction on this. And they're like, he's like, what? So they go out there and it's fucking Kirby.
She's at the FBI.
It's Kirby. Which, if you're a Scream fan, Kirby's from Scream 4. She was the love interest for Charlie until he turned out to be a ghost face. So, she is super awesome. She got very stabbed in that movie, and she fucking lived, and here she is in this movie, and I was like, she's the FBI agent? I was so happy for her. Good for her.
She's the one where she's like, I'm the law enforcement that you can trust.
Yeah, and of course, Kirby and Samantha know each other, because they're like, gone through some of the same shit, blah, blah, blah. Anybody who's been attacked by Ghostface gets to be part of the Ghostface surviving family, which is cool.
It's like Sydney and Dewey back when they were in the first couple of Scream movies.
Super cute. Anyway, so Kirby's like, I'm gonna help you guys any way I can, and you're like, cool. And I feel better once Kirby arrives, because I'm just saying, even in Scream 4, I mean, it's a little cheating, because I knew Emma Roberts was the killer in Scream 4. I didn't know for a long time who the other killer was, but eventually I found out it's Kieran Culkin, and that's Charlie and Wallace, and, you know, the kid who wets the bed and Home Alone. But anyway.
For those of you who don't know, Wallace is from Scott Pilgrim, which
Wallace
is our favorite.
Talking to you, Scott Pilgrim.
He's famous and he talked to me.
I was joking when we were leaving, and I was like, Sydney, it's Ghostface. Fight. If you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, you get the reference. Anyway.
Back to Scream 6.
Back to Scream 6. So, you're getting these, like, Scream references, these Easter eggs, they call them. And then Mindy sits everybody's ass down, basically, except Danny, because I think at this point we still don't know Danny's actually dating Samantha. So Mindy sits down everyone who's in their circle that she knows of, which is this kid Ethan, which is Chad's roommate. Of course, it's Chad, it's Tara, it's Samantha, and then it's Annika, who is Mindy's girlfriend again. And, like, just so you remember. And then it's also Quinn, who is Tara and Samantha's roommate. So she's like, this is not just a requel anymore, it's a franchise. And in franchises, everything gets kind of turned on its head. Everything you know of sequels, the opposite is true. Everything you think you know, opposite is true. It's going to subvert your expectations, blah, 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 which thus far in the movie, they've done a great job of that.
Yeah, which the fact that they specifically said, we're going to subvert your expectations, and they still did that, I thought that was pretty good.
But they did it, and, like, I didn't even think they were going to do it. Like, that's the key, is, like, you can be like, we're going to subvert your expectations, but to actually set up expectations and then do something else in a way that makes sense and flows well, that's difficult, and I think they really accomplished that. And I was very, very glad, because I think Scream 2 did not accomplish that, and if you know anything about the Scream movies, Scream 2 was fraught with people just leaking the script out, leaking out the story, so they kept having to switch who was the ghost faces in those movies, which is how you ended up getting Mrs. Loomis and Mickey, which everybody was like, what the fuck, that doesn't make any sense. He was in like one frame before he was revealed to be the killer. And yep, you're right, but that's what you get for being a fucking bitch.
Yeah, don't leak stuff on the internet if you don't want things to not make sense in a movie.
Yeah. Thank you, Wes Craven, for teaching us that lesson. Also, sorry you had to go through that, Wes. That fucking sucks. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Mindy's like, it's going to subvert your expectations. So then everybody's like, we got to have a sleepover because this shit's getting cray-cray.
Yeah, and they actually, I think before this, when Sam and Tara are leaving the station, first of all, they're like, we need a GTFO, and then they're like, no, you're persons of interest in this case, therefore you're not allowed to leave legally.
And Kirby, unfortunately, is like,
sucks to suck.
Yep, they're right.
And then they leave, and they run into Gail Weathers.
Gail Weathers!
Yeah, she wrote a story about the killings that they went through, and then she got famous off of that. And, of course, they have a powwow, and then at first she's like, Gail comes up, and she's asking them, like, do you guys think that this is because of you guys? Like, these killings are happening because you're here?
And so, like, they're leaving the police station, they're ignoring all of these reporters, and all of a sudden Gail Weathers, like, steps out, and she's like, Gail Weathers, Channel 4 News, and of course that catches their attention. And then she's like, do you guys think that these Ghostface killings are your fault because they're linked to you because you came here? And they're like, what the fuck? So Samantha tries to punch her, and she fucking dodges.
And she's like, I've done this dance before.
She dodges like fucking Mr. Fantastic, though. Like, she turns straight up into rubber and is like, whoop, to the side. You're like, what? And then she's like, I've done this dance before. And then Tara
sucker punches her. That was the best.
And she's like, leave us the fuck alone. And you're like, yeah, Tara.
Yeah.
Even though you're mad at your sister, you still take up for her. It's a good moment.
Yeah, and it is kind of like Gail starting to go back to who she was, where she's like, oh, I can write about this story and make money off of it.
Gail, literally, like, Gail is a beloved Scream character, but also a pain-in-the-ass Scream character. Because she goes through the same character arc every fucking movie.
It's like, I'm an asshole. No, I'm not an asshole. I've changed. Now I'm an asshole.
She said, I'm the bitch that gets the story and makes money, and then it's like, maybe I should just help people survive, and then she's like, just kidding, I'm the bitch that gets the story and makes the money.
And then at some point during their little powwow, Sam's like, what the hell would Dewey think of what you're doing?
She's like, that's a low blow. And I'm like, that's kind of hurtful, but also you're being a dick, Gail.
Yeah.
And Dewey would for sure not approve.
100%.
Because she's right. That might be a low blow, but she's right. Dewey would be pissed.
Dewey would be absolutely pissed.
Anyway, well, I don't think he'd be pissed. He would just be very disappointed. I don't think Dewey could ever be pissed at Gail. Anyway, so Gail's like, I want to help catch this motherfucker, and they're like, maybe, but then you're gonna still write a story about it and make money.
Make money off of our misery.
Oh, and Tara says something like, maybe, or maybe you're just afraid that if Ghostface disappears, so will you. And you're like, oh, get wrecked. She punched you in the face physically and metaphorically. Get it, Tara. And then they're like, sleepover, because safety in numbers, which is true. Very, very true.
100%.
So, during this sleepover, Sam's like, this is all my fault, blah, 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 and everybody's like, no one's mad at you. Like, we're all going through this together, and Chad says, we're the core four, and they're like, bro, that is the lamest thing. Like, they're all like, that is so fucking lame, and then he gets them all to be like, core four, and high five. It's so stupid, but it is really good. Like, it's a really cute moment, and then as they're talking, getting dinner ready, Danny, who again lives in an apartment where he can see into their apartment, sees Quinn on the phone and Ghostface is behind her. So Danny is like, holy titties, and he's like trying to flag them down and no one's paying attention to him.
And then he tries to call them, and for once, Sam's like, I'll call him back.
Well, Sam was like, I'm dating cute guy, like, from across the way. Like, his name's Danny, and I'm fucking him or whatever, I'm dating him. And they're like, I knew it! And you're like, oh, that's so nice. And they're, like, super supportive. So then when he calls her, they're like, oh, it's your boyfriend!
What are your intentions with my sister?
Like, it's so funny. And she's like, I'll just call him back later. And you're like, this is the one time, dude. You should have picked up the fucking phone. So, like, you'll pick up for Ghostface, who's using your dead boyfriend that you stabbed to death's phone, but you won't pick up for Danny? Come on, man. And anyway, so Danny's, like, freaking out. And they're thinking, because at the beginning of the movie, there's a scene where they're hearing noises from Quinn's room, and Sam kind of gets sketched, but then it's just Sam or Quinn fucking a guy. So they're like, oh, Quinn's gentleman caller, blah, 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 and her getting it on. No, Quinn is being fucking murdered.
It's like, literally an emergency.
Dan texts a picture of what he's seeing to Sam so she understands what he's seeing. And they're like, oh, shit. So then they're like, the screaming and the yelling stops, and they're staring at Quinn's door. And the second it pops open, of course, Quinn's dead body flies forward, and then Ghostface is right there, and Chad and Tara get the fuck out of there so fast. And I'm like, good for them. They just pieced out.
Fuck this shit
and then Annika, Mindy, and Sam are still stuck in there with Ghostface, so they're trying to stay away from him. Annika gets in the way between Mindy and Ghostface and gets super stabbed in the stomach, which, like, awful. Props to Annika. Annika is actually a gem of a character. She literally dies for her girlfriend. Like, super dedication. She's there for the team. So sad that she gets stabbed. I was like, the second she got stabbed, I was like, oh no! Like, it was so sweet of her.
Like, she got
she's
stabbed.
bleeding.
Like, she got stabbed, and her girlfriend also got nicked in the arm
pretty
badly with a knife.
Mindy, like, she got cut, but she didn't get stabbed.
It's not, like, life-threatening.
Yeah, like, you can
tell... But it still freaking hurts.
Well, you can tell, like, Annika's is life-threatening. Like, she straight up got stabbed in the gullet. Like, right in the gut.
And the entire time, she's like, oh, you're losing a lot of blood. Yeah, can you say something more encouraging, please?
So good. And so they get themselves locked in the bedroom, and... It's so funny, because they lock themselves in the bedroom, and then Sam's like, the bathroom door, so Mindy goes to lock the bathroom door, looks in the shower, and sees the dead gentleman caller, and goes, oh, that guy is so fucking dead!
Seriously.
And it's so good, because he's
his body's chopped up and everything.
He's chopped up, and he's like all cockeyed in the tub, chopped up, and she goes, oh, he's so fucking dead! She didn't even know him. She's, that guy's so fucking dead. And then she goes to close the door and Ghostface is there. So then they have to retreat and they're stuck in the one bedroom. And Danny, the fucking man, is like, he gets a telescoping ladder and he puts it across so it reaches both of their windows. And you're like, that is the scariest shit. Because they're like 3 stories or 4 stories up.
Yeah, it's a long fall if any of them either screws up or if Ghostface, like, comes in.
Like, if you sneeze, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
You will lose your footing on that
ladder. If you so much as fart in their general direction, you're fucking dead.
Yeah. And Danny is like, you can do it, Sam. I got you. I'm not gonna let you fall. And you're like... I just want to be able to trust Danny. Like that's the moment where I was like, I want him to be a good guy because I want to be able to trust him. Because he literally comes through like a fucking badass. Like, he gets that. He had already, like, he was like, she was like, I'm not going to make it over there. And he's like, I got a plan. And he gets the telescoping ladder out. And she's like, this is a bad idea. And he's like, you got a better one? And she's like, nope. So then he's like, come over here, I got you, I'm not gonna let you fall. And he, like, pulls her into the apartment and saves her ass. And then Mindy's like, Annika, you go. And Annika's like, no, you go, I'll be right behind you.
Which, of course, bad thing to say all the time.
Well,
I'll be right back, I'll be right behind you, etc., etc.
Well, and you can tell, like, Annika is losing a shitload of blood. Like, she's sweating, she looks like hell.
She's turning pale.
Yeah, like, even if she had made it across... Well, spoiler, I guess, but we're already in spoiler section.
Yeah.
If she had made it across the ladder, I don't think she would have made it.
No.
Because she literally is losing so much blood.
Yeah.
So she knows this.
100% marked for death.
Yeah, she tells Mindy to go ahead. Mindy does. And then as Annika's crawling over, Ghostface breaks in and he sets his knife down and he grabs the ladder and just starts fucking shaking it. And I was like, oh no. I would have pissed my pants.
Seriously.
If I were Annika,
she's several stories up. She's, like, trying to walk across this already precarious ladder. And this killer is just shaking the ladder as much as he can.
And he's, like, going ham on that shit. Like, he's got both hands on both sides. And he's lifting and pulling from side to side like it's a fucking roller coaster. And... like, Sam reaches out to try and grab her hand, and she can't do it. Her hand's covered in blood, and she slips through and hits her head on the dumpster and it just smashes her face in.
It's freaking brutal.
It's gnarly, and they show you her head and everything, so you know she's dead.
It's like she got her face like caught on the corner. It's like you can see the imprint, and it's
horrible.
It's fucking gory.
Does not make you feel good. So of course Mindy's crying, everyone's upset. Ghostface disappears. Danny saved the day for almost everybody. He did his bestest. He gets 10 stars for the moment. And then
if it weren't for him, more people would have been dead.
Yeah, and then Detective Bailey, who is Quinn's dad, shows up, and he's like crying, of course, because Quinn got super massacred. Super Massacre Black Hole, and
Super Massacre Black Hole.
And he's like
Super Massacre Black Hole.
Super Massacre Black Hole.
Anyway.
No. So he's like, now all my kids are dead, basically, and Sam and Tara are like, we know how you feel, like, our families are dead, basically. And then Ethan shows up, Chad's roommate, and Chad is like, where the fuck were you? And he's like, I had an econ class, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, like, none of them trust him.
Like, you are the most sus right now.
They literally
disappeared while we were getting stabbed.
They make him tag along to everything after that because they're like,
you're sus.
We don't trust you. So Kirby shows up, and Gail shows up, and Gail is like, I did some investigative research.
Investigation.
So she does some investigative journalisms. And she's like, hey, the two ghost faces that got ghost-faced, they had this place rented out. I'll show it to you, and it's basically a shrine for the stab movies.
It's insane. Like, there's a huge collection from all the stab movies as well as the original killers.
The actual, like, crime scenes.
Like, the evidence, the knives, the masks, the robes, everything.
Like, they're like...
It looks like a mannequin of cults.
Yeah, it really does. They're like, what? How the fuck did this stuff get here? And Gail's like, well, I mean, some cops are in it for the money. And she's like, except Kirby, of course. And Kirby, like, does a little curtsy. And I'm like, yeah, Kirby's the man.
I said mannequin of cults, didn't I?
You did.
I said cult. I meant to say cult of mannequins.
A mannequin of cults, guys.
Mannequin of cults.
I'm glad we didn't stop or cut that. I was just like, whatever. He probably knows what he's talking about. Like when I said Ghostface did. Anyhow.
This is how you know we're related.
So then, Sam and Tara get into a tiff again, because Tara's like, I don't want to be part of this legacy. And Sam's like, yeah, just because of me. And Tara's like, blah, 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 and goes off into a different theater, because this is an old theater where all this shit is. And Kirby's like, I got it. So she goes to talk to Tara. And then...
It is worth noting that to get into this theater, you have to have a card key to unlock these metal bars.
There's 3 fucking doors to get into this place that you have to have this card key for.
Yeah, if you don't have the card key for this place, you're pretty much screwed.
So, Kirby goes talks to Tara, and then Gail talks to Sam. And they have heart-to-hearts, and everything feels better, and Kirby is still the man, Gail is still the man. And then they're like, we have a plan.
I have a plan.
And the plan is basically Scream 2, where you go out into the open in a park in the middle of the day, and you wait for Ghostface to call you, and when he does, we trace the call, which did not work in Scream 2. Randy got fucking pulled into a van and got moited, which the Meeks siblings definitely point out to Kirby, and Kirby says, I can trace a call in 15 seconds.
Because last time that happened, that took forever to do.
Yeah, which was back in 97 that they tried this. But anyway, so Kirby's like, I can trace a call in 15 seconds. And you're like, yeah, you go, Kirby. So Ghostface calls Sam and is like talking shit, of course. And then they find the location is literally Gail's apartment building. So you're like, fuck, he's in Gail's apartment. And
it's across town.
Gail, yeah, look at this. So Tara gets in Detective Bailey's police car, because they took him off the case. But she steals his police car. She gets in the police car, and then Sam gets into, and they roll the windows up and lock the doors so Detective Bailey can't get in the car. And Sam goes, can we please use the police lights? And Tara goes, you think we're going to steal a police car and not use the lights? and the siren. And I was like, yeah, Tara.
100%.
Yeah, so they go.
Besides, you need to get there as soon as you can because it is an emergency. So
Seriously.
get those police lights. Police.
The police lights.
The elite police? Anyway, get those police lights going.
So then they're on their way, and as they're on their way, Gail gets a phone call, and her boyfriend answers it, and he's like, oh, Gail, it's for you. And she's like, ask who it is. And he goes, it says, they say they're the killer. So then Gail's like, hand me the phone. And she's like, go call the police. And it's Ghostface. And Ghostface is fucking around with her, of course. And then he shows up into the apartment. He kills the boyfriend, chases her for a while. It's a good chase sequence. And then Gail goes to her bedroom, locks the door, gets her gun out, and just starts shooting through the fucking door like a badass. And then Ghostface calls her again and is like, are you sure I wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest? And she's like, no, that's why I'm going to shoot you in the fucking head. And then she goes out there and she can't find him. And they're talking on the phone. And Gail eventually goes, can you hold for a minute? And he goes, what? And she puts him on hold.
And then she calls him, and then his phone rings. And then she turns around and shoots where the phone is coming from.
She just whips around and starts shooting that closet up. Which the funniest thing, too, is when she's like, can you hold for a second? And he's like, what? He's like,
wait, what?
So good.
I was not expecting this.
It's like when Sydney hangs up on him in the last one. It's like, so good.
I'm fucking done with this.
And, like, people being done with talking to Ghostface on the phone is not gonna get old for me. I love it. I love when people, like, when Gail and Sydney are just fucking fed up with Ghostface on the phone. I love that shit. So, she starts... Like, they get into a scuffle, she loses her gun, Ghostface does a stabby McStab, and then Tara and Sam show up and try to shoot him, they miss, he runs away, he gets away, they're like, Gail's more important, so they're trying to stop the bleeding, EMT shows up and stops the bleeding, and they take her to the hospital, and you're like, or they're about to take her to the hospital, and you're like, she's fucking dead. Like, oh my gosh. And I was so mad. I was like, I can't believe they would kill 2 legacy characters in a row.
Back to back,
like,
in 2 different movies.
I was gonna be so mad. And Gail's not even, like, my favorite character. It's Sydney, and then Dewey, and then Gail.
But because she's a legacy character, it's like, everyone is obligated to care, because it's like, Dewey's love interest.
Yeah, like, that's Dewey's girl. You can't just kill Dewey's girl. That's his wifey poo. Even though they got divorced.
Dewey's girl.
Shut up. So they're like, her pulse is weak. Let's get her to the hospital. And you're like, oh, thank God. So they rush her off to the hospital. And then, what happens after that?
Okay, so they rush her to the hospital. I think this is where they come up with a different plan.
Oh, I have a plan.
Yeah, they're just coming up with all kinds of plans.
They have all the plans. It's like Scooby-Doo, but shit.
Yeah. I got a freaking plan!
Yeah, and it's basically to split up. Actually, the plan is to not split up, but then it ends up happening. Because they're like, let's use the theater as a trap.
Yeah.
And Detective Bailey's like, I'm all for it. And he's like, I'll tell Kirby. Kirby's like, hell yeah, let's go. And then they're like, he's like, travel publicly so that, you know, you're very safe, which is a fucking trap. I'm like, that's a bad idea. You should travel by taxi.
Yeah, it's always a trap.
Which, I get that in a Scream movie. That didn't work out, you know, but like...
But also, like, you know, they also went by the subway train, which it's crowded down there.
It's crowded as fuck in the subway in New York at, like, prime time on, like, I don't know, I guess it's like a Friday night or it's the night of Halloween or something, so I'm like, of course it's gonna be crowded. Everybody's wearing fucking masks. Don't do that.
Yeah, it's a dumb idea.
And they've mentioned already that, like, the sale of Ghostface masks have gone through the roof since the first killing a day ago.
Literally the spokesperson was like, I found mine. Did you get yours?
Like, it's just a terrible fucking idea. All the way around.
It's a terrible idea all the way around.
Like, 6 ways from Sunday. So... they're all trying to get on the subway to get to the theater with all the Ghostface stuff. And they get separated. And the way they get separated is it's Danny, Sam, Tara, and Chad. And then Mindy and Ethan by themselves. And when Mindy figures out that it's just her and Ethan, she does not trust Ethan. So she's like, you stay the fuck away from me, Ghostface. Which is super fucking funny. Like, the way she's like, she literally goes, like, 2 platforms down and is like, Or she literally goes like 2 sections down and like motions him away. Like, she's like, go the fuck away. And you're like,
get out of here.
What the hell? It's so funny. So then she texts them, lets them know, like, I'm on a different train, blah, blah, blah. And these are the sequences, too, that are in the trailer, one of the trailers, and it is tense. Because you don't really know which ghost face is the ghost face.
Because there are several people, of course, wearing ghost face masks.
So many people wearing ghost face masks.
So many people. But there's also, it's not like a sea of ghost face, but like, there are several people wearing ghost face masks.
Yeah, that's the thing I like, is like, it's not like everybody's wearing a ghost face mask. Like,
it's not like the movie theater theme in Scream 2, where everyone is wearing a ghost face mask and has like either a toy prop knife which has like fake blood on it and stuff. So it's like, it's not one of those sequences. It's like, there's some people wearing it though.
Yeah, like there's like werewolves and Freddy Krueger and Jason and Michael Myers and just random shit in there.
One thing I forgot to note about the cold open, I noticed that one of the college students is named Jason. The guy who plays Flash, his name is Jason.
In real life?
No, like in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Because in my brain, he's just Flash.
Sorry, we don't know your name, dude.
Sorry, man, your name's just Flash forever. I'm so sorry. Anyway.
But yeah, I just thought that was a fun reference to Friday the 13th, that his name is Jason.
Yeah, and that's one cool thing. It's like horror movie franchises will reference each other. So, they, like the 4 of them, see all these ghost face masks, and they're like,
super sus.
And of course there's a fake out with one. And the fake out is so good because this ghost face is staring in Samantha's direction. She notices him. And then it's like a few stops later that he finally like moves and he's coming right towards her. And Danny steps right in front of her, like to protect her. And I was like, I just want to trust him again. Like, it just hit me again. I was like, I just want him to be good.
And then the ghost face just skirts right off the platform.
He literally is like, hard right, gets off, and everybody's like, and then you're like, okay, so they got the fake outs, and then you know Mindy and Ethan are in the screwed train car. Like, you know that one of them is going to get fucked over. And Mindy gets pushed to the back of the train car, basically, and Ghostface covers her mouth and stabs her in the train car with a ton of people around because the people next to her are sleeping or they're not paying attention. So he just stabs her quietly and leaves, and then Ethan notices her and then drags her off and is like, he's like, somebody call 911, and Mindy's there holding her guts in, and she's like,
I can't believe
it's wrong again. Fuck this franchise. And you're like, that's the best line. So, like, just the best if you've been stabbed and you're Mindy. Like, it's a great line. So then, the other ones show up at the movie theater and Kirby's outside, and Sam's like, Danny, I don't want you going in there. You're not Westboro. Like, you're an outsider kind of a thing. Which they had done the Core 4 thing before, and Danny went to go, like, put his hand in, and Chad was like, nah, it's not for you. This is an us thing.
This is an us thing.
And he's like, oh, okay. And he tries not to have his feelings hurt. Danny's constantly trying not to have his feelings hurt, and I love him for it. And he just tries to accept it. I just love Danny.
He's trying to be supportive despite the fact that they do not trust him.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty much the reason why they say, Danny, you're not allowed to come in, because they do not trust him.
And, like, it makes sense from a Scream standpoint. Like, you don't trust the love interest.
Yeah, you don't ever trust the love interest.
So he's like, I'll wait out here, stay safe. And you're like, oh, Danny, hopefully you're not actually one of the ghost faces. Because at this point, I still don't know. Like,
Neither of us know. At
this point, I suspect Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan 100% sus.
He's sus, even though he was there. Because in Scream, the only Scream that's ever had one killer is Scream 3. The rest all have 2.
There's always more than one killer, and in the first one, the first killer fake stabbed the second killer. So it's like, you really don't know if you can trust the person running away from Ghostface with you.
Yeah, like, you have no idea who it is. So, like, I'm like, Ethan's still on the table. And Mindy's not, because she's for sure he's been stabbed. You know, anyone who's for sure he's been stabbed, off the table.
Off the table.
But, like, that's the only hard and fast rule. And you have to, like, see their guts, basically,
Yeah.
in order for that to stay true. And then the other rule is, like, you don't trust the love interests. And you always know, except in the third one, there's usually more than one killer.
Yeah.
And since this is a new Scream...
A new...
Which is another reference. Shout out to Charlie. Anyway, a new Scream, I'm like, so there's always been at least 2, but I wouldn't, like... I wouldn't close the door on 3 killers, you know? I'm like, maybe there's more than 2. Maybe there's 3. Maybe there's 4. Maybe there's 10. I have no idea.
I mean, there were 2 in the beginning, but then those ghost faces got ghost-faced.
No, they didn't. They got moited by Sydney.
No, in the beginning of the movie.
Oh, true. Yeah, right. So already we have at least... So already we have at least...
4 killers.
4 ghost faces in this movie. So I'm like, maybe there's more. I don't know. I'm not going to rule it out. And just because there's 1 ghost face in one sequence...
Doesn't mean there aren't any others.
Doesn't mean there aren't 2 in that sequence, and 1 is not currently a ghost face. So Ethan was still on the table for me. However, I was like, the core 4 have to be safe. Like, there's no way it's one of them.
The movie pretty much establishes core 4 completely safe. They're not suspects. And
I 100% trust Kirby. Even in the 4th Scream, I trust Kirby. Like, I'm like, there's no way Kirby's a killer. There's just not. So, they get to the theater, she kicks Danny out, and Kirby's like, good choice. They go into the theater, and Kirby is like, so basically this is the only entrance into the theater. They're gonna have to come through this cage door. And I've locked it on this side, so once they come in, whoever the ghost face is, they're going to be trapped here in this thing, and we can just shoot the fuck out of him. And she's like, I'm the only one with a gun, and it's going to stay that way because I'm the only law enforcement officer. Which, the fact that Kirby's like, I'm a law enforcement officer, so I have the gun, but also we're going to fucking execute this guy. You're like, Kirby, I don't think you're thinking like here.
If the goal is to execute the ghost faces, how about give everyone a gun?
Like, honestly. And
that's like, it's not even like, it's not even like I'm a law enforcement officer. It's like, oh, are you old enough to get like a permit for like open carry? Cool, let's go and get you a gun.
But like, if you're the law enforcement officer, I get that you would be like, we got to do this by the book. But you're also just gonna shoot a guy, which is not by the book.
Like 100%, if you're a law enforcement officer and you want to go out and hurt someone or kill someone, you should not be a law enforcement officer.
Yeah. But also, like, if you're not going to do things by the book, just go ham with it and give everyone a gun. Just be like, I stole all these machine guns from evidence, or I borrowed them from evidence. But anyway, well, and Gail mentions earlier that some of the stuff that is in this, like, shrine to Ghostface, she's like, some of this is from evidence.
Yeah, it's 100% from evidence.
And Sam had like a talk with Billy, her dad, through the glass of his personal shrine. And she's like, fuck, not again, kind of a thing. Because even though she's on meds, she's still talking to her dad, and her dad's like, stabby, stab, stab. But anyway, so she's walking through this alone. Kirby goes off to do something. Tara and Chad go off to do something and end up doing a kissing.
Like in the lobby, I guess, of this place?
Of this old movie theater, which I support. Good job. I'm glad they finally kissed. Like, there's a scene where Mindy's like, oh, just make out already. And Chad's like, that's inappropriate. But I'm like, true, though. Just make out already. But anyway, so they go off to do their own things. And while Sam is, like, walking towards Billy's shrine, she talks to her dad again, and her dad's basically like, you need a weapon. Yeah. Like, this is, some shit's not right. Like, you need to have a way to defend yourself. Pick up a weapon. So she takes his knife, and he's like, good choice. And then she gets a phone call, and the phone call is from Officer Bailey, or Detective Bailey, and he's like, so I called the Atlanta FBI office, and Kirby has been put on leave because her health her mental state has been deteriorating since the last Ghostface incident, but especially the last 2 months. She's the Ghostface. Get the fuck out of there. And then she gets attacked by a Ghostface. So she's like, must be Kirby. So she runs off, and then at the same time, Chad and Tara get attacked by a Ghostface, and they stab Tara in the back, and then Chad and Tara are wrestling with this Ghostface, and then
They have like this little chase scene. Like I think they go upstairs,
And then they come back downstairs, and then when they're back downstairs,
one of the Ghostface like gets knocked down onto the floor by Chad, and Chad's like, "Go, I'll take care of this."
and then Chad's a total Chad again, and he's like, "Go, I got this."
And he grabs like I think one of these like little mini like gumball dispensers,
Yeah.
and he's about to like bash this ghost
fuck
head,
out of this
this
Ghostface with a
head
gumball
in.
dispenser.
And then Ghostface like gets up and just stabs him.
No, it's
quick.
Ghostface number 2 that comes by and stabs him.
Okay.
And then he drops the thing and is like, "Oh shit!" And then Tara and Sam are also like, "Oh shit!" And then the Ghostfaces,
they just
like,
grab Chad, and they're just laying into him.
they're just stabbing the fuck out of Chad, and Chad's like bleeding out the mouth, and he's like, "Go," and you're like, and Tara's screaming, and Sam's trying to drag her away, and you're like, and also Tara, you're only 5'1", like you're not gonna fight these two Ghostfaces. I'm so sorry, Jenna Ortega, but you're only 5'1". You cannot fight two Ghostfaces on your own when Chad couldn't even do it, and Chad is just getting ripped into, like, these Ghostfaces are trying to like fucking carve a pumpkin and they can't figure it out because they're 3, and he is just having his guts slaughtered. And you're like, he's so fucking dead.
Literally, he's been stabbed like in the double digits. Like
they're literally,
they're just laying into this.
You
guy.
know that scene in Fellowship of the Ring when the ring race come in and they're just stabbing the fuck out of those beds? That's literally what's happening to Chad.
Except like it's like 2 ring wraiths stabbing 1 bed,
and also they're actually stabbing the hobbits. So Chad is just getting the hell stabbed out of him, and then Tara and Sam are like.
They flee back upstairs.
And Kirby is like,
Kirby shows up.
She's got, like, blood on her head. She's like, which, to be fair, the ghost faces have been hit in the head several times already.
Yeah.
So she shows up with a head injury.
So she already does look very suspicious.
And she says, one of them must have knocked me out, blah, 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 blah. And, she's got her gun, and then Detective Bailey shows up. He's got his gun on her, and they've got their guns on each other, and the Ghostface is coming up to find Detective Bailey. And Kirby tries to warn him, and then he shoots Kirby, and then the Ghostface puts the knife down, and you're like, oh shit. We're getting the killer reveal.
Yeah, it's the freaking police officer.
So it's fucking, this is what happens. And this shit blew my mind, because I had my one suspect. Glad to say I was right. So one of the Ghostface takes off the mask, and it's Ethan. And I'm like, cool, nailed it.
100%. Everyone is suspicious of him. Mindy got it right.
And then it's also Officer Bailey.
But then there's one suspect.
And this one blows my fucking mind.
This
is what I was hoping. Okay, this
one came out of left field and just hit us.
Yeah, time out though. This is my fantasy, is that, so the way they've been doing things is they've been leaving these Scream Killer masks at all of the Scream scenes, and they're going through them, counting down from 5 to 1. And of course, number 1 is Billy Loomis, but I was hoping so much. Hoping against all hope. I'm like, this is irrational of me. But I wanted the killer to be Stu again. Like, I wanted them to be like, we're counting down to 1, and then it was going to be... This is what I wanted.
Because the thing is, like, earlier in the movie, Mindy and Kirby are having a talk, and they're like, that's the TV that killed Sue. If you believe the official story. Some people say that he survived.
Yeah. Well, they're like, if you believe that. And I don't want to believe that. Like, everyone has talked about this online and stuff on Twitter and shit. Stu could have survived that. So I was hoping against all hope that one of the killers was Stu, and that Stu had somehow convinced these other 2 to help him, and he wanted Billy Loomis's daughter to take Billy's place because it's his daughter, blah, blah, blah. He wants to teach his daughter the ways, blah, blah, blah. That would have been so fucking cool. But this also turned out really good because the third Ghostface, or the second Ghostface, takes off the mask, and it's fucking Quinn.
The girl who died supposedly earlier,
and you're like,
and had her body thrown at Annika,
and you're literally like,
what?
We saw her dead. What the hell? And then Detective Bailey is like, these are my 2 kids, and you killed my 3rd one. And she's like, fucking Richie, and he's like, yeah, that's my son. This is his movie theater. And you're like, oh,
What?
and all the pieces actually click together into place.
Because the only way to get all these pieces of evidence is for someone to be in law enforcement
and have
and
access
it's
to the
freaking-
evidence room.
and it's freaking Officer Bailey.
And it is so cool, because, like, unlike in Scream 2, all these pieces click together, they fit well enough that you're like, yes, this makes sense. And I was okay with it. Like, I didn't think the second, like, ghost face that was standing there was Stu because of how short they were. I just didn't know who the fuck they were. I was like, okay, obviously it's not Stu.
Secretly
'Cause
Tara.
Matthew Lillard's pretty tall, and this person looks about as tall as Officer Bailey, a couple inches shorter. Pretty sure Matthew Lillard would be taller than that, which is the guy who plays Stu Macher. So when they're standing there, I'm like, it's not Stu. So who the fuck is it? And then it's Quinn, and I was like, mind blown. We saw that bitch die.
blown.
And Officer Bailey was like, Detective Bailey is like, yeah, I was the first one on the scene, so I just switched out the bodies, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, shit. And then things start making sense, and you're like, holy titties. And then they're like, so Sam's like, well, what the fuck? And he's like, you killed Richie, so we're gonna kill you and your sister, and then you're gonna put on Billy Loomis's mask, and we're gonna kill you, and then we're gonna make it look like you did all this. And of course, her and Tara are like, fuck that sucks. So then they get into a scuffle, and there's this big fight, and like people be getting stabbed, and then like they go upstairs, they climb that ladder, and they go upstairs. Kirby comes back and does a little helping and gets stabbed again, and then they go back upstairs, and like
so
Tara almost gets knocked off the balcony, and then she's like, let me go, and Sam's like, gives her the knife, lets her go.
And Ethan's like underneath Tara trying to like take some swipes at her. And then the thing is
Tara
like
lands on him.
but before she does, Sam sees that Quinn is coming after her. So Sam quickly grabs the knife that she got from Billy Loomis's case and gives it to Tara and lets go. And then Tara falls on top of Ethan. And then,
great.
So it's Tara versus Ethan, Sam versus Quinn.
And Sam has a gun, so there's no fucking way Quinn's gonna win. But, like...
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if you're Ghostface, just don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
So when Tara falls on Ethan stabs her, but then Tara stabs him in the fucking throat.
It's
and not
insane.
like exterior throat. She
like,
goes through
into
his
the
mouth and twists, and you're like, oh,
holy
shit.
crap.
So then he falls over, and Sam and Quinn are upstairs, and Sam's kind of like, wow, sucks to suck, kind of a thing. And Quinn goes to attack her, she shoots her in the head.
Going
and
in
then
for that headshot.
When she falls over, Officer Bailey's standing right there, and he's like, you know, shell-shocked, and Sam says something snarky to him, but I would have gone level 15 if I were Sam.
Wow, you're a lousy dad, a lousy police officer, and a lousy killer. What else are you not good at?
Exactly, because she says something to him, and I was like, you should just, and it was a low blow, but it was only like a level 2, and I'm like, you should have hit him with all the power. You're a shitty dad, a shitty cop, and a shitty killer. You've lost 3 of your kids, now what are you gonna lose, you know? And then just shot him in the head. But she goes to shoot him in the head, and she's out of bullets.
Of course.
So then he runs at her like an idiot, and then they both fall over.
And the thing is, he has a loaded gun.
He has a loaded gun.
He doesn't like straight up shoot her like in a rage. He like charges at her.
So then they fall over, he hits a display, she doesn't. She somehow gets up. He gets up a little bit later.
She does the ghost face.
And she does the ghost face. She
the
calls
ghost face
him.
Disappear.
Yeah, she calls him, and it's the ghost face voice. And the ghost face is like, I have a question for you, Detective Bailey. What's your favorite scary movie? And he's like, are you fucking serious? So then he goes into the stage where the screen is. And behind there is where all the ghost faces are. So he's back there, and he's shooting all the fake ghost faces in the head. The mannequins, Charles's mannequin cult in the head.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to Charles's mannequin cult. He's shooting them in the head because he's seeing shadows move, and the ghost face is talking to him, and he's like, just show yourself. And then fucking Sam appears behind him in Billy's getup and just stabs the shit out of him, like, just like, boom, boom, boom,
Like-
boom, 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 boom,
Like, not
boom.
even just, like, in the chest, but, like, straight up his arm, like,
She is, like, methodically stabbing him. It is insanity.
It is crazy.
It is so good. So he's standing there, and he's, like, trying to hold some wound by his neck.
Like,
and
he's clearly alive, but trying not to die.
And he said something to her, like, I knew you were a killer. And she takes off her mask, and she's like, I'm better than my dad. My dad was a killer, but I'm better than him.
But you also fucked with our family.
And Tara shows up, and she gives her a look, and she's like, so I'm not going to kill you. And then Tara gives her another look, and she goes, but you did fuck with our family.
And
so
then she stabs him in the eye.
She stabs him through the eye and, like, twists into his brains, and he's like, oh, and falls over. And you're like, fuck yeah. And then they walk out from behind the screen, and Richie had made, like, a fan-made Scream movie.
And then you can see the credits written and directed by Richie Kirsch.
It's so funny. And then they sit on the stage, and they're just sitting there. And, like, Red Right Hand is playing in the background, which is great callback. And they're sitting there, and they're like, oh, fuck. And then the police, you can hear sirens, and the police bust through the gate, and they come in, and Danny comes in with them, and Danny's like, I figured you could use some backup. And you're like, Danny, I love you, you fucking beautiful man.
And thankfully Kirby is alive, by the way.
Kirby lives, and they go outside, and Tara starts crying, and she's like, Chad, you know? And you're like, yeah, man. And then they're like, we've got another one, and you're like, what?
And then it's Chad, and then we also find out Gail Weathers actually survived her brush with death.
So then you have Gail, and Mindy, and fucking Kirby, and Chad.
The Chad.
All survive. Chad. And of course, Chad's coming out, he's got, like, the oxygen mask on, he's, like, covered in, you know, gauze and stuff. And Tara takes his oxygen mask off, starts kissing him, and then she puts it back, she's like, you probably need that. And he's like, uh-huh. But, like, Kirby is like, if you ever need anything, call. Because we're family now. We're part of the same fucked up family. And you're like, hell yeah. So then the movie ends there on, like, a good note. Because, like, Sam has Billy Loomis's mask still. And you can tell it's calling to her. And she just drops it and follows Tara to the hospital. And you're like...
Good way to end a movie.
It was so good. I would say, overall, just, like, a really good movie.
This was a good movie. I'd say 8 out of 10.
I would say 10 out of 10 for me. Just because I like the story, I like the characters, I like their banter, I like their relationships, I like the complexity of each character. Like, Sam enjoys stabbing people to death. But yeah. she doesn't go out and just do it, you know?
Yeah, she enjoys it, but also at the same time, she's like, I don't like the fact that I enjoy this.
She doesn't want to be a monster, but she's like, also, when you try to kill me, it gives me a great excuse to fucking kill you. And you're like, true, Sam. You gotta channel that energy in the right way.
Just be like, you're a killer, and my dad's a killer. So you know what? Stabby stab. But only because you're attacking me. Stabby stab.
I also love when, like, the Ghostface calls them and they're like, yeah, the last people who did this were fucking dead. You're like, oh shit. Like, they go there. Like, Gail's like, it's never worked out for the guys who tried this before, idiot. You're like, fuck yeah, Gail. I'm glad.
You're like the 10th guy that did this to me. The other 9 guys are dead.
I love the characters. I love the story. I love the banter. I love the way this subverted my expectations. So if you've seen Scream 2, like, you expect the good guy boyfriend in Scream 2 to die at the end.
To die or to be, in general, just untrustworthy, I guess.
The boyfriends in Scream are either untrustworthy or they fucking die. And... that didn't happen here. I was so happy. Happen. I was like, oh my gosh, because I didn't want Danny or Chad to die.
None of the love interests are suspicious, actually.
Yeah, like, I didn't suspect Danny at all. No. And I didn't suspect Chad, of course, because he's part of the core 4. But then, like, I was like, oh my god, they really did kill the like, good, trustworthy boyfriend who's, like, trying to be the man. And you're like...
he's being the Chad.
Yeah, and then he lived at the end, and I was so happy.
Spoiler alert, Chad lives at the end.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, instead of John dies at the end, it's Chad lives at the end. But it was a really good movie. Very entertaining, very tense. There were some really cool kills, some really cool moments. The stabbing is always intense in this one.
It is insane.
Like, there's never just like, eek. It's like, boom, 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 boom. Or it's like somewhere insane. Like, the doctor dies and they stab him through the nose.
Oh, yeah. That's another kill that we forgot to talk about. At some point, the therapist that tried to accuse Sam of threatening her gets stabbed straight through the nose. Through his freaking door.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay we missed it because it's not the kill count. This is just a review. But that was a really cool kill.
Yeah, and we're not dead meat.
Yes. Although that would be an honor. But anyway, it was just a good movie all around. Like, really good cast, really good at subverting expectations.
100%. Like, the entire time you're trying to figure out who's the killer, and it's just a really tough time because the directors, like, they know that you're trying to figure out who the killer is, and they know what methods you're going to use to try and come to that conclusion, and they will fuck with your expectations.
And I knew there was at least two, because there was some scene where I'm like, there has to be two killers because the timing is too tight or something.
Yeah.
I forget what it was.
Like, the one where they're, like, stuck in the bedroom, like, the one was still, like, beating on the front door, and then, like, he stops, and then, like, immediately afterwards, like, the Ghostface is at the back door in the bathroom.
No. That wasn't one that was suspicious. It was something completely different.
Okay. Well, that was the one that was sus to me, because I was like, there's two killers.
I was like, there definitely has to be two because of this moment. But, like, I just like it because, like, they have strong motive. Like, even if they didn't think Richie was framed or whatever. Like, and I don't think they do. Like, they know Richie was a psychopath. They're just like, you killed our brother, you killed my son, like...
You fucked with our family, so we're gonna fuck with you.
So that's a strong motive. Like, I get that, and I support it.
And ironically, that motive got turned around on them, and that's why they're dead.
Well, and I think, too, it's, like, reminiscent of Scream 2, because Mrs. Loomis is one of the killers in Scream 2. So I'm like, it really did take that and subvert it and do it different. But then at the same time, it's a strong motive, and then them being the killers does make sense, like, time-wise. Like, a lot of people complained about Scream 3, Roman being the killer, because they're like, he doesn't have enough time to go from point A to point B, or do this, and then also do this right after. And I get that, but, like, this doesn't have any of that.
No. There's 100%, like, there's continuity that you can track.
Yeah, it's good continuity, and it's good motive, and it's just a great movie.
10 out of 10 for keeping the continuity.
Yeah, and I think it's an excellent addition to the Scream franchise.
100%.
Like,
it's a fun movie. Like, I saw this completely blind. I didn't even see any of the trailers where they were, like, in the freaking subway, as you mentioned. I was just like, oh, Scream 6. Hannah wants me to go see with her? Fuck yeah, I'm in. I don't know. I've not seen anything about this, so I'll just wait till I'm there. Just be completely surprised.
Yeah, and it was good. Like I said, a great addition to the Scream franchise. I think the last one was also another good addition. Like, I think this is probably... I think it's the best requel, I think. Because, like, Halloween 2018 was great. And then Halloween Kills was okay. And I liked Halloween Ends a lot.
I didn't see Halloween Kills or Halloween Ends, but I did see the 2018 one with you, I think.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because that was, like, at the IMAX theater section of our movie theater.
Mm-hmm. And it was really good, but, like, these Scream ones are just amazing.
It's because of how much they screw with horror tropes.
Yeah, and I think the writers and I think Radio Silence and everyone involved just kind of has a really good direction with it, and they really know where they want to go, and I think they have Wes Craven's original purpose for these movies in mind as they write them and direct them and all that, so...
Pay Sidney Prescott to be in the next one.
That's literally my only complaint, is there's no Sidney Prescott. Like, Gail's like, Sidney decided to take her husband and kids to a safe place, and you're like... I mean, at least they weren't like, she was killed off screen, because that would have been really bad.
That would have been really disrespectful, but at least she was like, let them have their happy ending, and Sam's like, on that we can agree on.
Yeah. But I really hope she's in the next one. I've heard rumors that she will be. I heard rumors that there's going to be a next one and that they agreed to pay Neve Campbell the appropriate amount, which thank fuck,
please.
For her to be in the movie. Yes, please. Like, honestly, I just love Sidney Prescott. Sidney Prescott is my hero.
Yo, it'd be pretty cool if like you were in the next one.
That would be so much fun.
Yeah, just even as like an extra, just like at like a party or something.
Like Dead Meat, they're so lucky. Like them just being part of the Scream universe is so lucky.
Yo, they'd make a sick killer cold opening
For the next movie.
I like
agree.
they're in the middle of their podcast, like critiquing the Stab movies. And then they're like, oh, okay, so, and then they get a phone call from, like, a fan live in the middle of their podcast.
Or they're going to go do, like, a special at Woodsboro and they get moited.
That
would be so cool.
Almost like in the Halloween 2018 movie where those two reporters went to go visit Michael Myers, and then they get killed by him.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
That'd
Put
be
Dead
super
Meat
cool.
in the next movie. Make them the cold open. That's my wish. My 2 wishes for the next movie: make Dead Meat the cold open,
And pay Sidney Prescott.
and pay Neve Campbell to be Sidney Prescott. Those are my 2 things.
100%.
She 100% deserves it because she really does. Just like she's so up there as far as final girls. She's like.
I love how sick they are of Ghostface by this point.
Yeah.
They're just like, I'm bored.
And they hang up. But she's up there with Laurie Strode and fucking Ripley and just all of them. She's amazing. Amazing. Those are my 2 wishes for the next one. But I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was good. Like I said, I could go on.
This movie was good.
If you didn't see it and you hear all of this, please go see it. Please support it so we have a 7th one.
Go see it. But if you listen to this whole podcast first, then went to go see it, like, shame on you.
Charles, don't shame people.
But the thing is, like, it's best enjoyed when you know nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would strongly suggest doing that for the rest of the Screams or Scream 7 whenever that comes out. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, we'll probably do. I'm gonna go see Evil Dead Rise when it comes out.
Oh, I want to see that
because it looks super good.
I've actually not seen trailers for that,
Oh.
and I am not going to.
That's good. That's gonna be rough.
I loved the feeling of going to this movie completely blind, other than the fact that it's a Scream movie, and I loved the Evil Dead remake that they made. And I want to go into the new Evil Dead movie completely blind, not having watched a single trailer.
Oh, man.
100%.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that.
I don't want to watch any more trailers because I'm already worried that I've seen too much. I don't think I have, but hopefully.
Yeah, because, like, some trailers reveal a little too much, and then it's just like,
And I loved the Evil Dead remake, and this seems to be more along those lines. The Evil Dead Rise movie coming out next month. So I'm super excited for that. But this has been Beware the Moon podcast. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I don't really use Instagram too much, but Twitter. And then, Charles, your things.
I'm CharlieBrown. You can follow me on Rumble.
You can follow him there.
Yeah, I'm on Rumble. Which, speaking of which, we gotta set you up on Rumble, too. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, and then Charles and I have done a couple of...
gaming episodes, because I run a gaming channel. And so you'll see me play a lot of games like I've played the Pokemon Legends Arceus. I'm in the middle of Persona 4 Golden, and I am also in the middle of Goemon, Mystical Ninja, starring Goemon.
The fucking ninja.
That's the one that me and Hannah are both in.
And Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah, we gotta finish Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah, so Charles lets me commentate on the fucking ninja and Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah, and I'm also on a political podcast too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So follow Charles at CharlieBrown at Rumble.
CharlieBrown at Rumble.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you have other?
Yeah, capital C, capital B. You'll see like a little digitally drawn version of me. Kind of crappily.
Do you have other socials?
Yes, I am on Gilded, which is similar to Discord. Except, as far as I know, Gilded is not planning on recording any of your voice chats.
And you also have to get naked, or no?
No.
Okay. Well, all right.
I'm on Gilded. I'm on Gab. I'm on Truth Social. And yeah.
Now he's on the planet Earth.
I'm on the planet Earth. The Earth of planets.
There you go.
The Earth of planets.
Anyway.
Take me to your Earth of planets.
And your mannequins of colds.
Mannequins of colds.
To get ghost-faced.
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 These ghost-faced got ghost-faced.
Anyway, this has been Beware the Moon podcast, where all of your ghost faces get ghost-faced. I'm your host, Hannah, and this has been my guest, Charles.
Hello.
And stay safe, y'all. Stay safe. Watch out for Ghostface.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'll be right back. And as always, beware the moon.